The Dangote refinery has accused multinationals of hiking crude prices to sabotage the refinery's local crude supply. While the management of the refinery accused international oil companies, otherwise known as IOCs, operating in Nigeria, of planning to ensure the failure of the $19 billion refining facility. While the Vice President, Oil and Gas at Dangote Industries Limited, says the multinationals are deliberately frustrating the refinery's efforts to buy local crude by jerking up premium price above the market price. Well, he also says the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority is still granting import licenses to marketers to import dirty refined products into the country. Let's bring in Ameh Madaki, who is an oil and gas consultant and managing partner at the firm BBH Consulting. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight.
Thanks a lot.
Very scandalous what we're hearing, from the Dangote firm, that there are attempts to actually frustrate the Dangote refinery. Is it safe to say now we know why Nigeria's 4 refineries have not been working all this while? There are some interests that just don't want Nigeria to be self-reliant when it comes to fuel.
Well, thank you very much, Ngozi. Nigeria is a country of scandals. We run from one scandal to another, and this is yet another headline. I think that there is definitely a lot of conspiracy in the oil and gas industry. There's a lot of opaqueness in the way things are handled in the industry, because the extent of regulation that's supposed to keep the operators operating ethically the way they should, it's not tip-top as it should be, and as it is in other jurisdictions. So that said, it's really a saddening cry, that after so many years of wanting to have a functional refinery, we have a functional refinery here now, and then suddenly, they're crying of crude, of crude supplies. Nobody would have imagined, after all the arguments about, Nigeria not being able to refine, enough crude oil, or rather not even having refining capacity at all, and shipping out all our crude production for refining abroad and then sending the refined products back, that we'll have a local refinery, 650,000 barrels a day capacity, and then suddenly there's no crude for them to refine. That's actually, again, another scandal.
Yeah.
So when I say that we run from one scandal to another, we seem to be a country of scandals because governance is not at its tip-top shape in the country. And, people just ride roughshod and do whatever they like, and there is no consequence management for whatever they do wrongly. Nobody has gone to prison for doing anything wrong in this country properly, and sabotaging the economy. So, if there's a deliberate effort on the part of the IOCs, as alleged, to starve the Dangote refinery of crude oil, it is the duty of the Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission to ensure that there is a minimum domestic supply obligation where the producers of oil, of crude oil, have a duty to supply a minimum quantity to local refineries that are here and are able and willing to take crude supply from them. That's what other countries do. You can't have a resource that's indigenous, that's here, and then and then you cannot utilize it, in its raw form.
Yes.
So we cannot be exporting our crude oil when we have more than enough refining capacity, locally. So that's the scandal. That's something for NUPRC, the Upstream, Regulatory, Commission to deal with urgently.
Apparently, there seem to be a lot of contending forces, both from within and from outside. And, talk about regulator. Dangote is also accusing the NMDPRA of giving licenses, to operators to import dirty fuel.
Well,
exposing Nigerians to carcinogenous, substances. How is that even possible? What exactly is there a regulator who is checking to see that the fuel that comes into the country meets international standards?
Well, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority is mandated, to ensure that there's quality control and that, substandard petroleum products are not imported into the country. Yet again, that's another potential scandal. But we have to also take that with a pinch of salt. I'm a bit worried that this allegation is coming at this time when Dangote has been producing PMS since the inception of its, since they commenced production. In fact, in that same report, it's the managing director of the refinery, also said that within the period since they started production, they've exported 3.5 billion barrels of liters of petrol or PMS. They have exported 3.5 billion liters of PMS, to other countries. Because the way the refining process works is that you cannot produce PMS without you cannot produce diesel or kerosene or aviation fuel or without producing or AGO without producing PMS. So all of them come out at different points of the heating of the catalytic cracking process. So Dangote have been producing PMS, but they have not been selling it in the local market. They've been exporting the PMS that they produce. And they said they've exported about 90% of all their production of PMS all this while. What I would have thought should happen is a situation where, because Nigerians consume more PMS than the other products at the pump, they should have made those products available in the country if what they actually desire is a patriotic supply of the domestic market with the products.
Could it be because it's more profitable to export?
Well, I really, because NNPC owns 20% of the shares in Dangote refinery, I would have thought that, if NNPC is operating optimally, they should have put Dangote under pressure to ensure that, rather than import the products with foreign exchange, they should have made, PMS available to the local market so that we don't even have the supply.
Well, it's actually interesting you say that, because my understanding of the alarm that's been raised by the Dangote refinery is that, look, over 3.5 billion liters of diesel and aviation fuel exported to Europe in the past few months. I don't see anywhere where they actually say, PMS, but you are the expert. You would understand.
There's no Dangote PMS in the local market.
None.
So we need to ask ourselves, where is it? Is it that they're putting it to the storage tank, waiting for when negotiations, about the pricing, suits them, or, quite frankly, I see this allegation of importation of high sulfur diesel as possibly, corporate blackmail in order to create a monopoly situation. We all know that Dangote is very used to and comfortable with monopolies. So I hope that it is not a situation where, there's no other competitor, because he has a refinery here. We will prefer not to import petroleum products under any guise. But to say that, every other person should be stopped from importing petroleum products because Dangote refinery is here might actually create a monster. But
I doubt very much if the Dangote refinery is saying that. They actually went to the extent of saying, look, the federal government issued 25 licenses for the construction of refineries in Nigeria, but only Dangote really has been able to make that a reality with its 650,000 liters.
Yes, we know. But we also know that Dangote received a lot of support from the CBN, under Ameh, for the product, to enable him even actualize, the construction of the refinery. A lot of subsidies came into it, including subsidizing the value of the currency itself, of the foreign exchange, that was used for that. We all know, that a huge chunk of the money that was used for that investment actually came from the federal government. But don't
you think it's important to actually investigate the IOCs to see how indeed if indeed these allegations are, a matter of fact, that government really should step in to ensure that the IOCs are not jeopardizing or, sabotaging Nigeria's economy? Because they also went ahead to say, look, other multinationals do the same thing, exporting the raw, the raw material. Well, not just in the oil sector. This, applies to other sectors of the economy.
That is, again, the issue of failure of regulation. We don't regulate enough here. You know, for instance, you know, all the IOCs have refineries in their home countries. So they would rather, you know, send our cheap crude to their refineries and then bring back the finished products and sell it to us at exorbitant prices. We all know that. So the setting up of the Dangote refinery is supposed to actually be a huge thing for celebration for the Nigerian economy. But where is the PMS from the Dangote refinery? We haven't seen it in the local market. And I think that what the government should have done from the beginning as a shareholder in that venture was to ask Dangote to put the PMS in the market immediately in order to at least be able to crash the prices. I've said this on and on, that honestly, if we run the right economics around our petroleum products, we should not be paying more than 300 naira per liter of petrol, even today. Or a liter of Jet A1 even today, or a liter of AGO even today. But we are running a very inefficient downstream sector of the Nigerian oil and gas industry. Yeah. Why should we be selling crude oil to ourselves at an exorbitant price determined in dollars by forces that are outside of this environment for local consumption? Considering that, you know, right now the dollar is exchanging for more than 1,500 naira for a single dollar. You know, how can you compete? At what price will you be able to handle it? And then it will make sense.
It's interesting.
So why are we not selling crude oil to local refineries in naira? Why are we not doing some pricing that is based on the wellhead cost of the product rather than the market cost? Because producing a barrel of crude oil at the wellhead, you know, in Nigeria is supposed to be one of the cheapest in the whole world because our crude comes out without any form of pressure. It comes out on its own. So what exactly is it, you know, that...
So many questions begging for answers. But very quickly, you pointed out that, you know, Dangote got a lot of support, but it's calling for, you know, government support in already with this situation now, where it's crying out that, look, there's sabotage going on here. How should government come in? Well,
we have to investigate it across the board. There is a feed-the-bottle approach, you know, to the doing of business in Nigeria. You are rendering a service, and instead of being a businessman and competing in the market, you are asking for government support. Everybody asks for government support. I hope that this is not another attempt, you know, to ask the government to stretch out another feed-the-bottle. Because if you invest $20 billion, setting up a 650 1,000 barrels refinery, you know, capacity refinery per day, you know, you should also know how you're going to get the money back. You know, and many people already think that the value of that refinery is extremely overinflated. That nowhere in the world does it cost that much money to set up a 650,000 barrels refinery or any refinery of any capacity, by the way. So really...
But how many refineries really do you have? You know, that size?
No, it's probably the largest single train refinery worldwide. But you can still do a cost comparison. And when you do the cost comparison, and you even see some refineries abroad that are up for sale, the prices are fantastically much lower than that. So these are probes that need to be done. These are probes that would need to help the economy realize whether we're getting full value for money. But right now, quite frankly, the bad news should not be that Nigerians are, the Nigerian regulatory authorities are licensing companies to import bad fuel. I think that's demarketing, you know, other people. Those are the kind of allegations you make when you want every other door to be shut and for only your door to be open.
But and it must be investigated.
And we are used to that, those kind of allegations. You know, so rather than taking it hook, line, and sinker and creating the impression that the doomsday is around the corner because Nigerians have been consuming bad fuel, which I think is a very unethical argument to make. You get the point, without proof. You know, I think that the regulators should come and bear their fangs and actually explain, you know, what the standards are and that we're not a banana republic that where anything goes and we just issue licenses for people to import products that will kill Nigerians. I don't think that's the kind of impression that Dangote Refinery should be creating at this time.
Absolutely. It's a good place to leave it. Ameh Madaki is managing partner, BBH Consulting, as an oil and gas consultant there. Thank you very much for joining us on News 9.